Have you ever worked with someone who focuses entirely on tasks and doesn't even know how they're feeling? Or perhaps you know someone who works long, hard hours without noticing the impact it's having on their mind and body. You might have seen how ignoring that toll damages their relationships, leaving them exhausted while resentment quietly builds because no one seems to notice how much they carry. Hi, I'm Dr. Dranitsaris, psychotherapist, leadership coach, author, MBTI certified practitioner, and the co-creator of the Striving Styles personality system. Welcome back to my series on the shadow side of the sensing function. Today we're exploring introverted sensing and the Martyr Persona. Introverted sensing is a dominant mental function for both the ISTJ and the ISFJ. In the Striving Styles personality system, we call them the stabilizer striving style because they're driven by a predominant emotional need to be secure. ISTJs and ISFJs process sensory experience internally. They constantly compare what's happening right now with what they've experienced before. That allows them to feel secure with the information that they're taking in. They remember critical details, notice subtle changes, and they rely on accumulated knowledge to determine what is dependable and likely to work based on what has worked before. When functioning authentically, this gives them an exceptional capacity for practical planning, sequential planning, loyalty, precision, and continuity. ISTJs pair their introverted sensing with extroverted thinking to organize responsibilities, establish standards, and ensure practical expectations are met through clear structure and follow through. ISFJs, on the other hand, pair their introverted sensing with extroverted feeling to respond to the practical and relational needs of others, honoring traditions, anticipating needs, and creating stability through care and dependability. Both types excel at maintaining what is established, but when anxiety takes over, their greatest strength, dependability, becomes a mechanism for protecting themselves through being useful and always putting themselves in the service of other people's needs. This brings us to the crucial difference between our two internal systems of the brain: the self-actualizing system, which directs our energy toward developing and using our authentic self, helping us to build flexibility, clear boundaries, and the ability to share responsibility. On the other hand, the self-protective system directs our energy into creating an adaptive persona that manages anxiety and ensures our need for consistency and predictability is met at all costs. When ISTJs and ISFJs grow up in environments where routines are unreliable, expectations shift without warning, or adults fail to handle their responsibilities, these two types learn to step in as the dependable one. They're praised for being mature, helpful, and undemanding. And because they seem self-sufficient, their personal needs are overlooked. A hidden self-protective rule takes root inside of them. I must endure and hold everything together to be secure. Instead of fueling their authentic growth, their energy is diverted into suppressing personal needs, meeting endless obligations instead, and constructing what I call the Martyr Persona. This persona manages anxiety through duty, endurance, and overfunctioning. They keep going when exhausted. They hold tightly to commitments even after circumstances change, and they refuse to delegate because relying on others feels risky, it creates anxiety, believing it's simply easier to do it themselves than to ask, explain, or risk disappointment. Over time, everyone else gets used to this. Family members and colleagues stop noticing how much the ISTJ or ISFJ is doing because their overfunctioning becomes part of the background. And the more responsibility they carry, the less others contribute. The martyr rarely communicates directly that they're overwhelmed or overloaded. Instead, they silently hope someone will notice their sacrifice and offer help without being asked. When that doesn't happen, deep resentment builds that these types, they might not even be aware that they're feeling resentment. They tell themselves it has to be done or no one else will do it. And while they view this as strength and loyalty, others experience them as rigid, controlling, chronically dissatisfied, or impossible to help because they reject support only to resent being unsupported. So, what's the development path forward? The ultimate cost of the martyr persona is self-neglect and chronic resentment. By carrying everything, they prevent others from stepping up. By hiding their limits, they deny others the chance to respond. Relationships become organized around heavy obligation rather than genuine choice. The developmental task for ISTJs and ISFJs is to reclaim the energy spent on endless endurance and redirect it toward the authentic self. This means recognizing that responsibility has healthy limits. They get to say no. Communicating personal needs before resentment builds is really important. Allowing others to participate, even if they do things differently, and learning to tolerate that. And realizing that setting a boundary or saying no does not make them irresponsible, even if they feel guilty. Growth might start with a single statement: I cannot continue taking responsibility for this alone. We need to decide together how we're sharing this. Self-actualization doesn't require ISTJs and ISFJs to become careless or unconcerned with tradition. It means learning that they can be dependable without abandoning themselves. They can adapt without losing security or stability, and they can allow others to share the load without everything falling apart. When introverted sensing is freed from self-protection and from the martyr persona, it serves its true purpose, bringing practical wisdom, continuity, and deep care to relationships without sacrificing oneself to keep the world turning. To read more about this framework, check out my full article, The Shadow Side of the Sensing Function, and be sure to watch other videos in this series where I explore how extroverted sensing can transform into the rescuer persona in ESTPs and ESFPs. Thanks for watching.